Okay. Pop out the chat, bring it over to this window. Slide it down. We're going to do live chat. There we go. Okay. And there we go. Hope you folks are doing well. Let me see here. Hello from Union County, Georgia. I'm painting the mechs and vehicles from the BattleTech Aces box. Nice. They're fun to paint. Good morning from Calgary. On my way to another early morning soccer game for my kid. Well, have a good time with that. Daryl, how you doing? From Australia. Let's see here. Good morning from Central Texas. How you doing? Feisty Crabman. I'm going to fix my lighting a little. I think something's a little wackadoo. It's not too bad, I guess. Just everything looks really blue. I tried to mess with it before, but OBS is like, no, you can't just change color temperature. Why can no? You got to do. Anyway, let's see here. Finishing up diorama I've been working on. Rod, that's pretty cool. Good morning from Frigid, Delaware. How you doing? Fungazi. Good morning from the frozen wasteland, formerly known as Washington, D.C. Can't wait to get back to Adepticon. Milwaukee is quickly becoming one of my favorite places. Well, cool. I'm glad to hear that you're going to be there. I will also be there. I'm looking forward to it quite a bit. I'm Zenithal priming some models today. Nice. I did a bit of that yesterday. Well, that's not technically true. They were primed. I was just adding a Zenithal to. It was a long story. I was doing a bunch of terrain yesterday, airbrushing down in the basement. I was kind of productive yesterday, which was really nice. I now have a bit of a cough, unfortunately. Let's see here. Morning from Quebec. How you doing, Dragonfire? Morning from Queensland. About to create some sliced files and may do some other things when I get tired of that. Nice. Good morning from Cleveland, working on my Golden Demon projects this morning. Nice. Rodney, how you doing? From a decent Oklahoma, working on the Sanctifiers today. The Sanctifiers are cool models. It's the last time that the GW's made models that I liked. But glad to see you. Caulk Block, good morning from Las Vegas, Nevada. How you doing? I missed going to Las Vegas this year in January. Been going to LVO in January for years, and now it's no longer in January, so I kind of missed that trip a little bit this year. Didn't think I would, but I did. VJ Morph, how you doing? Shortest street in England is in York, and it's caused Whip-a-Wap-a-Gate, which is fun to say. That is crazy. Painting up Cosmoflot for Infinity. That's very cool. Morning from slightly warmer Quebec City. It's about like 16 degrees Fahrenheit here. It friggin' snowed overnight again. I mean, like not a lot, but enough that I have to go out and look at it and do stuff to it, and it's really annoying. I'm done with winter, which is a bummer because it's early-ish February, and we've got a lot more winter to go. But I'm done with it. Good morning from Bremerton, Washington, working on my Conflict 47 introductory set. Cool. Philly suburbs. Went to Cold Wars in Lancaster. Very sparsely attended. Well, that's a bummer. Soundtrack. Oh, yeah, it was an ad. Greetings and good morning from Jonesboro, Illinois, where we are almost thawed out now. Nice. Like this week, it's supposed to be highs in the 20s and 30s, so at least the temperature's going to be getting back up. But yeah, we just keep getting these little like snows and stuff like that. And, my neighbor, he's outside. As soon as the first flake hits the ground, he's out there shoveling and everything like that. And I'm like, it's not that much snow. People can deal with it. Anyway, let's see here. Clearwater, Florida. How you doing? Utah, did you finish the 30-minute mission? If you did, what did you think about them? I haven't even touched them yet. Nope. I got 2 of them. I should probably do that. Probably make a video about it, but I haven't done it yet. I've been working too much on terrain. I've been printing a lot. I've been painting a lot. These things are super cool. I don't know if you can see behind me back here, I've got a bunch more. The set that I bought, there's like 7 different files in it. I've printed all of them now. And I'm going to be using them as terrain and also a bit photography backdrop for our next game, which will get announced at Adepticon, which is coming up soon. I'm looking forward to it. Let me see here. Good morning from a suspiciously mild Saskatchewan. How you doing? Chilly but no longer snowbound North Carolina. That's good to hear. I'm getting ready to host a miniature painting program for teens at work. Well, that's very cool. Hello from France. How you doing? Hi from the French Alps. Currently installing some seafoam tree on my display board for Moonstone. Very cool. How's your Infinity progress going along, Uncle Adam? I moved the box of the starter box that I bought at Gen Con down into the basement. That's about as far as it's gone. I've been working on a lot of other stuff. Checking in from very chilly South Ontario, minus 18 Celsius. Boo, that's no fun. Jesse Daniel, how you doing? Morning from snowy Milwaukee. Fresh inch or two. Need to submit my TMX events. Drop fleet, indeed. So I updated the website yesterday. It's right there. The TMX Expo, that's redundant. The Tabletop Minions Expo 2026. So the dates are June 13th and 14th, 2026. Now you might say, wow, Uncle Adam, are you having a convention? Yes, this is the 8th annual convention. I've been doing this since 2017. I just never market it well. Also, it's not been doing it, but there was like at least a year or two that we missed because of COVID. So I'm pretty sure it's 8th. I think I put it on there because last year I said it was 7th. So I'm assuming it's 8th. I don't know. I could go back and count if I really wanted to. But anyway, just to let you know right up front, it is very small. It's like last year was like 100 people. It is not like a big hootenanny show. It's real small. So, but you just show up and like demo games and play stuff and everything, and it's pretty low key. There's no, I was gonna say there's no online registration or anything like that, but I mean there is if you want to take a painting class, because painting classes sell out, and there's only like 16 seats in the painting class room. Last year we had Sam Lenz, who we all know and love, Vince Venturella, who we all know and love, Raven, who some of you may know and love, but Raven's a good guy. Raven did 2 different classes about terrain stuff. Raven does amazing stuff. You should follow him on the socials. Gravenly Studios is what he does on the socials. It's like Raven, but it's Graven because he's, so Graven, yeah, Gravenly Studios. Anyway, that part hasn't been updated yet because I'm still finding out from the lads who wants to teach this year and all that jazz. But when that goes live, there will be an online sign up for that. But that's kind of separate, sort of, almost from TMX. Like you can come and take classes at TMX, but not have to pay to get into TMX because you don't have to come into TMX. Like the classes are across the hallway. So if you just wanted to come and take 2 classes and then skedaddle, you could do that. And we're not going to like ding you and say, oh, you also got to pay for TMX, even though you're not going to do it. Now, if you come to take the classes and then also want to play a bunch of games and stuff like that, then we're going to ask you to get a badge. Because basically all the money that the classes make goes directly to the artists, except for like, I think there's a service charge that the ticket company that I use charges. It's like $2.50 or something like that. So, yeah, I don't take any of the money at all for the painting classes. I just set it up. But anyway, painting classes, the paints and the brushes are provided by the Army Painter, so that's fun. This is last year's classes. We had Achieving Smooth Blends with Vince Venturella and Epic Sci-Fi Terrain Made Easy with Raven. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I don't know if it's Shinki. I'm not sure. I keep forgetting to ask. Anyway, Gravenly Studios. Intro to Wet Blending with Sam Lenz. Basically, everybody taught 2 classes, and they were an hour long each, and there was a half hour in between them, and they all took place on Saturday. So, and then there was the event schedule, which I have cleared out now. And there's only 2 events currently right now. Learn to play Snarling Badger's new game, which is secret. You don't know what it is. And also on Sunday, learn to play Snarling Badger's new game. But here's the Game Master sign up where people can put in, hey, I'm going to run something. And then you put in all this information and then we put it in the list and all that. And if you want to be a vendor, then there's that too. Last year we had, 3 different vendors or 2 different vendors, including us. I don't know. Anyway. And then housing, that'll happen this week. I need to get the link that they want me to use at the hotel place. And so, yeah. But anyway, if you go to tabletopminions.org/TMX, you can find all that information. And I'm going to be marketing it better this year. I'm going to be actually mentioning it kind of in some of the videos that I do on the normal Friday stuff so that more people find out about it. Because people find out about it after the fact and then they're like, oh, is that new? Did you just, I'm like, no, I've been doing this for years. I'm not a, I don't market. Like I can do it. I just don't. I don't know why. I feel like I'm annoying people when I market. It's why I'm not a great marketer or a great capitalist. Let's see here. Deceptively spring-like Netherlands. Currently working on Baron's War. Nice. And maybe later some Battletech. Nice. Afternoon from South Wales. Zombicide and Hero Quest. Very cool. Morning from wet Portland. Morning from Lexington, Kentucky. Working on my band for 5 leagues. Very cool. Good evening from a very pleasant Cape Town. That's nice. Settling into sponging on some red on my Blood Angels. Having a lot of fun going for a grimdark paint theme. That's very cool. Jebbies, how you doing? Jay Johnson. Good afternoon from Berlin. Hello from Santiago, from the hellish summer land of Chile. 8 first time catching the stream live. Oh, well, that's cool. I mean, I'm sorry that it's real hot. That's a bummer. Let's see here. Good morning from Statesville, North Carolina. Uncle Adam, loved the last video. Listening while splitting wood. Well, nice. Terrier Halo, how you doing? Entering a golden toothbrush competition. It's local, so only I can win. Well, there you go. Good morning, Uncle Adam and Chad. Beautiful brisk morning in Santa Cruz. Time for coffee. I've got some coffee myself. Good afternoon from wintry and cold Uppsala. I'm not sure if I've pronounced that properly, but it's in Sweden. Sadly, the toothbrush isn't golden. It's just my mini cleaning toothbrush. You don't want a golden toothbrush. That sounds heavy and, you know. Afternoon from a very wet Puckle Church in the UK, basing up some River Guard for my Kings of War. Nice. Morning from Ontario, cold and trying to save my floundering Kickstarter. Oh my goodness. Good Sunday morning from Sarnia, Ontario. How you doing? Howdy from Chile, Boston, working on some old school goblins. Very cool. Good morning from Southwest Virginia, navigating a cold and frustrating morning while playing Tyranids. Painting Tyranids. 16 degrees out and ran out of propane overnight. Oh, that's no fun. Yeah. Morning from Mobile, Alabama. Morning for Florida, 51 and sunny. Nice. I think it's Florida. Morning from Middle Tennessee. Might hit 50 today, but 60 tomorrow. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it getting to be spring here. It's not spring yet. It's not even close. Happy Sunday from rainy and 47 degrees Southern Oregon, painting Ghost Bear Max. Very cool. I've been painting Old Hammer 40K metal models all freezing week. It figures I'd get in the zone during the coldest part of the year, working in my garage. Well, yeah. No, the basement was real chilly yesterday, too, when I was down there. I was, like I said, I was airbrushing a lot yesterday. I did... I had 3 sci-fi buildings that that were primed outside that had, off-gassed and all that stuff, and I was now colorizing them. And what else did I work on? Oh, some big statues. 2 of those big statues. Not the biggest statue, but the 2 of the larger statues that I did from my mini factory, from their Ruins of Perdition STL set. The biggest statue I haven't primed yet with rattle can. It's 2 parts and you have to glue it together. I need to find like one of those big bar clamps that's big enough, because this thing total is like, I don't know, it's like probably 16, maybe 17 inches tall when you put the 2 parts together. It's really cool. And I'm looking forward to having it on the table, but it needs to be glued together and then probably puttied where the gap is a bit, and then I need to prime it. And I may just wait until spring to prime it. We'll see. Getting prepped to paint a shadow dragon from Rescale Miniatures. I'm not sure if I'm familiar with Rescale Miniatures. Morning from Des Moines, working on Adepticon Old World Army prep. Nice. Do you want to see TMX grow into a huge convention? No. There are pros and cons. Haha, I get you. Pro and cons. 2 different sizes. I'm curious where you see TMX in the future. I could see TMX getting to 200 people maybe someday. I kind of don't want to go that big if I don't have to. So yeah, I have run small conventions in the past that have started to get bigger, not huge. I used to run a convention that was like an overall tabletop gaming convention. It was role playing and board gaming and a little bit of miniatures and some magic and stuff like that. It was mostly board gaming because there was a big board gaming group in the area, and so yeah, it was mostly board gaming, and it was I ran it from like 2001 to 2011, maybe something like that. 2012 maybe was the last time I did it because it was I quit doing it just before I started the channel because I was like, well, I can't run a convention and a channel, and then I started running the channel, and about 4 or 5 years later, I was like, I'm going to start a convention. And my wife was like, didn't you say you didn't want to do that? And I'm like, well, yeah. But that convention I used to run that was more of a general tabletop gaming convention, that one got up to about 250, 275. And at that point, I then started being like, all right, the marketing that I've been kind of doing, I'm going to dial it back because I didn't want it to get too big. I'm terrible at delegation, like super bad at it. So I was doing everything. And I basically, for the most part, kind of do everything for Tabletop Minions Expo as well. So that limits how big, you know what I mean? Oh, someone's shoveling. I'm like, I'm hearing this weird noise, and I thought it was coming from a different direction, but it's bouncing off of somebody else's house. It's someone shoveling. Let me see. TMX is great. Well, that's very nice of you to say. I appreciate that. Learn how to base robot squirrels is a class I'm looking forward to. Oh, my goodness. Thanks, Uncle Adam, for the conference to start 3D printing terrain. I've been cranking out buildings and scouring sand plateau pieces. The P1S has just been going like a beast. Absolutely, yeah. The Bamboo Lab printers have been doing real well. I've got the one downstairs, and I have a second one, which was the first one that I bought that worked great for a while until I screwed up the nozzle, or not the nozzle, the print thing, the thing that goes back and forth. So I ordered new parts, and those parts showed up at some point last week. So I'm going to replace the head thing and a bunch of other stuff at some point. But the thing is, I need a place to put it. So I've dumped everything into the box that it originally came in and everything. So it's sitting in the box it came in. Everything else is now all the parts that I ordered, not too many, but a couple parts that I ordered. I'm going to try to fix it. And then my plan is eventually to be able to have both of them running hopefully at the same time. And then they'll just, go to town or whatever when I need them to, which is great. So, but for right now, I'm just running one, but it's fine. I had a second floor of a sci-fi building that I bought the STL from that got done printing sometime overnight. So I'll probably set it up to start printing the next floor before we go to lunch at my in-laws after I get done with the show here. But yeah, I keep it running a lot, like most of the time these days. Good morning. It's not annoying marketing if it's not heavy-handed and it's in the area people are interested in. I hope so. We all like pushing Army men on the table. It fits. I appreciate that. Morning from ever sunny Tucson. How you doing? Good morning from Gilbert, Arizona. How you doing? I like to paint minis. Working on my Empire baggage train for the old world. Very cool. People have baggage, Watching from Oxford, UK, first-time watcher of Sunday show, painting heresy salamanders. Well, welcome. Glad to see you. Afternoon from Coventry, UK. Hello from Mississippi. I bought an airbrush and everything for it 6 months ago, but I am afraid, intimidated of going to mess it up, so I haven't used it. Is this normal feeling? I hear people talk about it from time to time, like I get it. I bought a resin printer and then never used it because I was like concerned that I was going to, screw it all up or whatever, and all kinds of stuff like that. Now, that being said, I also have a good friend, my friend Dave from Bottle and Spool, bottleandspool.com, by the way, if you're looking to get some stuff 3D printed, but I pay him to 3D print stuff for me, and so that's very useful. But with an airbrush, I mean, in most situations, if you just start out, like honestly, the easiest way to figure it out is just to start spraying water through it. Like obviously don't spray your water all over your minis, I suppose, because what would that do? But just to sort of get the hang of it, just, you just attach it to the compressor and get it all, it's probably comes put together most likely. I think an important thing to do is to somehow, if you can, maybe use your phone, set it up if you got like one of those little mini tripods or I don't know, something. But take it apart on the video so that you know which parts go where, or take pictures and do it in like stages, like, oh, the back part unscrews and this slides off, and then set it down and take a picture. And then like, oh, and then this thing, and then the needle comes out and then take a picture, so that you don't go, crap, how do I put this back together? And that's the thing. Once you put it, get it all together and put some paint in it and run it, it's fine. They always say that your paint should be the consistency of skim milk. That's what I try for if I'm using something that's not, frankly, Army Paint or Airbrush paint. If you use Army Paint or Airbrush paint, then you just squirt it out of the bottle and use it. You don't have to thin it. You don't have to do jack to it. It just works. For me, that's a huge reason that I airbrush a lot more than I used to, because I just use the Army Paint or Airbrush stuff and it just works. Because I used to try to mix like, oh, I got this color from GW and I have to thin it with something. Like I had friends that were thinning stuff with, I think Sam used to thin stuff with Windex. He swore by Windex. I was always like, well, doesn't everything come out slightly blue? And he's like, no, not really. I'm like, okay. But yeah, it's if you use proper airbrush paint, and I used to use Vallejo, and I always felt like I had to thin it a little bit, even though it was Vallejo airbrush paint. The Army Painter stuff has always worked for me. So just FYI. Mississippi, St. Louis. I'm zenithaling some paint bottle toppers for my speed paints. Nice. Morning from Arctic, New Jersey. Real feel is -1F. Nice. I don't know what the real feel is here. They used to call it the wind chill, which I think makes more sense, but I get it. Took a painting class during TMX last year. It was a good mental health pick-me-up. Well, nice. That's very cool. Who did you have your class with? Good morning from Kansas City. How you doing? Is there a place to submit reviews for TMX? Reviews? Oh, I see. Like, because you were there. And no, not that I know of. Like, not really. There's not like a... There should be. Like, someone should make a website like with maybe reviews for conventions, although sometimes that, I don't know. Sometimes gamers can be weird, so maybe it's not a great idea. But no, I appreciate it though. Currently resin printing a Thunderhawk for the Games Club kids this week and getting the kids to paint it. Like a full scale one or like a little one? Prepping new Astra Militarum shock troops. Nice. Airbrushing, priming Arc World Warband and Robot Warband for Fallout factions. Nice. Morning from the Florida Panhandle. Hope everyone's Sunday owl is super. Ooh, superb. Nick Butler, how you doing? Afternoon from a dry, overcast Horsham. Planning my salute attendance hotel bookings. Nice. I'm chuffed I finally finished the 10 Allie Mortensen Demonette models from the 90s. Oh, that's cool. Cold winter here in Northern Virginia has inspired me to finish my Frostgrave project. I get that. That makes sense. Patiently waiting for Snarling Badger to announce their Robo Squirrels versus Weather Control Groundhog Wizards. I don't know that that's a thing. I'm pretty sure it's not. Don't forget the elves with shotguns. Yes. Extruder? It's the thing, like the nozzle is attached to the bottom of it, and there's a round thing that spins around and it pulls the stuff in. That whole thing, I bought a new one, and it's like $32. So I was like, well, yeah. Because inside that, I took it all apart, following instructions on the website back when it stopped working. And there's a metal wheel in there with like kind of teeth. And that's what grabs the filament and fires it through and presses it through the hot nozzle. And it was gunked with stuff because I had let the filament get swollen slightly with because it was really super humid. So I cleaned it as best as I could, but it still wouldn't work properly and wouldn't pull through stuff. So I was like, and then I just let it sit. And I bought another one and then let the other one sit. And now I would like to run both of them. So I'm like, well, how about if I just replace that whole part? Maybe that'll help. So we'll see. Happy to get this from the beginning. Usually miss the first hour. Well, we're glad to have you. Paralysis through over-analysis. I'm still guilty of it, but I'm trying to get that. Yeah, I get that. We actually had a conversation with Vince about it recently about like not knowing like what to do next sometimes. I don't seem to have that problem. I don't know why. Great advice to start with water. That's how I began too as well. Practice over and over. I mean, just spray it on a piece of paper, newspaper, something like that. I don't know. If you're absolutely new to airbrushing, practice first on paper, get a feel for it. See, there you go. There you go. Is that cow milk, tiger milk, goat milk, platypus milk? I would say cow milk, skim cow milk, like you could buy in the store. I mean, that's Wisconsin. We usually have cow milk in the store. I don't know if we can get tiger milk or platypus milk here. Interested in Osprey Games' New Warriors of Athena game. It looks more narrative and still skirmish. I don't think I've heard of that one. That's interesting. For the person nervous about starting airbrushing, Vince has this game changer video on how he cleans. I found this removed so much fear from me because my biggest fears was everything getting clogged. I did a video about that too, about the reason that my airbrush that I've owned for 10 years is never clogged is because it is never dry. It's right now it is sitting in water downstairs in the basement. Like if you watch that video, like never clog your airbrush again or whatever, I forget exactly what it's titled, but yeah, it's kind of important to keep basically if the airbrush never gets dry, the paint can't dry out if there's any in there, so it can't get clogged. Heater Steinbeck? Oh wait, no. I can't think of the name. The European airbrush guys. I don't think it's Heater. I don't know. Maybe I'm mispronouncing it. Some good ones for paint consistency because lake skim milk doesn't help that much. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what else to call it. But like I said, I just straight up just use the airbrush paints from Army Painter and they always work. Hey from KC, how you doing? Corpse starch milk? Blah. I took so long to use my airbrush because I had to find a new connector for the compressor. Well, that'll happen, sure, yeah. Iowata nozzles make me nervous. I'm always afraid I'm bending them, taking them out, or placing them in the base of the brush. Those things are pricey too. A lot more than the needles that we all worry about. I've never had a problem with my nozzles. I mean, I've been using the same HPCS Eclipse Iowata brush for, oh God, a decade? More than a decade at this point. Yeah. Yeah. Full scale with 28 pieces. Whoa, that's a big thing. South Wales, how you doing? Busy multi-basing my undead units for Kings of War. Very cool. I do appreciate when these niche interests, hobby people, companies tell me what they're up to instead of me having to spend a lot of time figuring it out, more of a public service than self-promotion. Sure. Hello, Uncle Adam. Hope you have a fine day. Currently designing my UFO models for my tabletop old school XCOM skirmish game here in Livonia, Michigan. How you doing? Oh, here comes the plow. Like I said, not that much snow. The hot end. That's the nozzle bit, or the thing that gets hot on the end, I guess is why they call it the hot end. Aztecs and Astronauts, the new game from Snarling Badger. It is not. I've never been so if you don't know what that means, Aztecs and Astronauts in my mind is like, there are games out there that are like, hey, we made this game system and you can use whatever types of, like you can stat out, and again, the idea is that you can stat out, like normally with games, they're like, this is a sci-fi game, this is a fantasy game, or whatever. And we've got some stuff, but it's in a certain realm, let's say. But there are games out there that are like, we made this universal rule set that will work for anything, fantasy, sci-fi, whatever. And it's the whole concept of anything from Aztecs to astronauts. And I'm like, but in the real world, let's say in the real world, Aztecs fought astronauts. I think the astronauts might win. I mean, unless they're in those big bulky suits and they can't get the finger in the bullet gun thing, or whatever. But if you watched For All Mankind on Apple TV, they had machine guns on the moon. So, I'm just saying that's, anyway. Yeah, I'm not usually super into that. I know Uncle Adam hates elves. Mostly true, yes. But he doesn't hate them as much as Mantis. Mantis? Oh, Mantic, I think is what you mean. I see, okay. Their Kings of War line, I was like a mantis, like a praying mantis. Going to have playable interiors. I'll be honest, I always glue the roof on if it's got playable interior. I don't ever seem to want playable interiors inside my terrain. I don't know why. Anything that they build, like, admittedly, most buildings in 3D, they will have the roof separate just because otherwise you've got a big solid block. Not always, but very frequently they'll have the roof separate. But a lot of times they will also then model a bunch of interior stuff and everything like that. And I'm like, hey, that's cool. I'm going to glue that up. I don't want the interior stuff, but giving a person the option is nice. Sometimes I think it would be nice to, and I don't know how hard this would be for the sculptor, probably kind of difficult, but it would be sometimes difficult. It'd be sometimes nice to have the building, like two versions of the building, one with like playable interior, like, oh, there's stairs and there's, and then the other one is just like, it's just a box on the inside. And so then that way you don't waste quite as much time and filament. But yeah, I probably, if I was smart, I would know how to do it too. Just be able to take the inside out. I can't hear the nozzle without hearing the computer voice from the nozzle bit in the Venture Brothers. Oh, I know. Nearly anytime I say the word nozzle, it always is just like, do not the nozzle. Created a different elves. I've created a couple different elves with shotguns on Hero Forge now to get them printed. Nice. Painting some 3D printed Lilo and Stitch. Or is it Lilo? Lilo? Tire valve caps. No kidding. Huh. Wow. Morning from Maryland. At Wonderfest, we were given target paper for our airbrush class. Loved them. Very cool. Tested has a good old video on breaking down and cleaning airbrushes. I would assume, yeah, it makes sense. With a ladder and some willpower, there's always tiger milk at the nearest zoo. You really got to believe in yourself. Help me understand, what does it mean for a wargame to be narrative? Doesn't each session of play in a wargame create a narrative? I mean, there's a lot of miniatures games out there that are just heading more towards competitive, where it's more about like, okay, there's an objective here in the middle, we both have to try to get it, or things like that. Narrative frequently means maybe also that things aren't perfectly balanced. Like, sometimes you will have a narrative thing where it's like, okay, one side has this many points and the other side has 3 times that amount of points. And it is just a race to see how long the underpowered side can last, how long that they can like go up against these infinite odds type of thing or whatever. Very frequently narrative and campaign play are sort of interchangeable as well, where you'll be like, okay, well, we're playing where it's stuff that happens in game 1, the outcome of game 1 then informs a bit of what happens in game 2, like how the scenario runs down. Like if team A won the first game, then they're going to have maybe some slight benefit in game 2, or maybe the guys that lost the first game get some slight benefit. It depends on how you want to do it. But the narrative stuff, is, like most games of like 40K that you see at tournaments are generally not narrative. It's just like, we're doing this, we're counting up victory points, there you go. And everything's equal. Because if it's not equal, I mean, in many situations, and you see this a lot more and more at tournaments, it's to the point where they're like, we have a mirror match as far as the board is concerned. Oh, there's a piece of terrain over here that's this shape. Well, then we have the exact same one, but like the other direction over here. So that there's no like, oh, well, if I start on this side, it's better for me than if I start on that side. So I'm going to, all that kind of stuff. That's generally what's meant. Harder Steenbeck. I'm like, I couldn't remember what the first word was. Yeah. That's generally what that means. Doesn't each session of playing a war game create a narrative? Again, it depends on the scenario, I think. Just letting you know, Space Station Zero was a blast to play. Well, that's glad to hear. I'm glad to hear that. It's a great game. I think it really turned out well. It's probably one of our best sellers. Warriors of Athena is Joseph McCullough's new game. Same guy who wrote Stargrave and Frostgrave. Oh, I know Joe. I'll have to take a look. Yesterday, Jason from Monument Hobbies had a great tutorial on how to use your airbrush to keep the paint flowing smoothly without clogging. Nice. Just keep running thinner through my brush until it sprays no color, then disassemble it and clean my remaining paint with a thinner soaked brush and paper towel. If I'm in doubt, I run thinner. See, I don't use thinner. I always just use, I buy this stuff on Amazon. It's Iwata airbrush cleaner. You can buy it in like, I don't know, it's like 32-ounce bottles, and I actually do need to order a couple more. I'm just about maybe a third of the way through my last bottle, so I do need to do that. I've been using your trick to keep my Iwata clips in water for years since I got it, and I have never had a persistent clog or any rust. Yeah, it's like it shouldn't rust because it's made out of brass. You know, it's chrome covered, but it's made out of brass. The only thing is that sometimes I think on cheaper airbrushes. Okay, so there's your airbrush, and it goes this way, and there's a cup up here, and the nozzle shoots the paint out over there, and then here's the button. But then there's the thing that sticks down that attaches to the air hose, right? In there, the trigger, the thing you push down, is directly above it, above the thing that goes down and attaches to the hose. Inside there, there's kind of a valve. It's really just basically a post with a rubber thing on one side, and there's a spring in there too. So when you press down on the trigger, it pushes the rubber thing away from this hole, and then air rushes in and shoots the paint out the front. It makes that noise sometimes too, which is weird. Anyway, on cheap airbrushes, that spring could sometimes rust if they're stupid. Like if they put the wrong kind of metal in there, that spring could get rusty. In better airbrushes, it won't. Like I said, my Iwata clips, that I've seen that spring relatively recently because it was a long story, but it's fine. So the other thing is I had a call with some of the folks from Iwata, and I was talking with them, and it was about something else, but I was talking about how I keep my airbrush in the water, and they're like, yeah. And I could tell, like, you know, because she was like, because I had said, and I've been doing it for a decade and it's been fine. So she's like, not going to tell me, hey, you're wrong, I don't think. But the way she does it, and also they sent me a keychain, and this is not a real airbrush, but it is a real bottle opener. I don't know if you can see that. I don't know. Anyway, they sent this and some stickers and some junk. Anyway, what the woman that I was talking to at Iwata said is that she keeps hers like in a shot glass, maybe a bigger than a shot glass. So I don't have anything on here that's a shot glass. I don't know. She basically keeps it nose down in water so that this part here, because this part is the part that's got the spring and the valve and all that stuff in it, which you normally should not take apart. She keeps it so that part's out of the water. So she kind of keeps it nose down. She's take the nozzle apart, she pulls out the needle, but the main body of the airbrush, she keeps nose down in the water. And then that way she never gets a clog either. So if you have a cheaper airbrush, which there's nothing wrong with, but you're concerned about maybe the spring is maybe not, then maybe try that. You know what I mean? But if you have a more expensive airbrush, even slightly more expensive, like I said, like an Iwata, which I think they're great, then I just keep the whole body of the airbrush in the water. I take the nozzle bits off, I pull the needle out, I take the back part off, just the main body, which is basically this part right here. I don't know if this, I don't know, you know, that all is currently in fluid, and the nozzles are in fluid too, you know, and the needle's not. The needle I keep out. I just wipe it off with a piece of paper towel and leave it on a piece of paper towel next to my water thing. There you go. Happy Sunday, Uncle Adam from Erskine, Scotland, been ironing and now playing Battletech Alpha Strike. Nice. Do your snowplows have funny names around there? The UK often lets the public name plows via online polls, and the results are often hilarious. No, because there's so many of them. Like we don't have, like there are probably dozens here in our town's only like 80,000 people, but it's Wisconsin, so the infrastructure is like, oh, there's a lot of plows. So we don't name them generally. Pro tip, don't touch the hot end while it's energized. No, that's no good. I have very hard water in my building, so I hesitate to leave my brush fully in water, but as others have said, a little thinner at the end of the session goes a long way. I mean, the other option is to just use, you can get distilled water at the grocery store maybe. Distilled water won't have any minerals in it. I think our water is sort of hard. We don't have like a water softener machine or anything like that, but I'm not sure. I haven't had any like mineral buildup on my airbrush. I think if you like go really a long time in between sessions, let's say, and the water evaporates down lower than like the let's say it's the airbrush is laying on its side and the cup is, and then so much of the water evaporates that the cup is now kind of partially up out of the water. I suppose then you might see like a little bit of mineral stuff stuck to it as it's evaporating, but other option is to don't let it evaporate so much. I don't know. But yeah, no, I haven't had that problem. Good morning, everyone. Finished all my 40K orcs in January, except for 4 models. Working on finishing out my Sigmar Night Haunts right now, then I'll go back and get more of those orcs done. Nice. Too many slow pows here to name them. Just give them space and stay out of their way, man. Not ashamed to admit I paint the interiors. I have no problem with people doing that. It's just for me, I'm not. I'm always just like, I just want it to be a building that people walk around, maybe get on top of. Sometimes there's balconies. Balconies are cool. A lot of sci-fi buildings have balconies. Stop telling people to do that with the airbrush. That may work for you, but it's not good practice. An Iwata rep told me that was the worst thing that they ever heard of. Well, I talked to an Iwata lady who's some sort of vice president just recently, and she said she keeps hers nose down in the water, and it's fine. So I don't know what to tell you. Never had a plug. Never had a clog in 10 years. Same airbrush. Elves, even in my game Kings of War, caused the war god by Kalasor creating the Fenrian mirror. Oh, those elves, they're mean. I'm working on Old Hammer 40K orcs too. Nice. Picked up the alpha rules for Lazy Forger's new spaceship game, Full Spectrum Overdrive. I've heard of Full Spectrum Dominance. Is that the other one? Make all the components out of paper, Mod Podge, and cardstock. No kidding. Elves are fine. Dwarves appeal to my crafting and hoarding tendencies. Makes sense. Hope things are going well. Hey, Tick, how you doing? Gen Con Badge Day. I'm over winter. I am also over winter. That's right. It is Gen Con Badge Day. I'll have to register for, I guess I should send, yeah, I'll send an email today to or do whatever I have to do for the media badge, I guess. Same thing I've been doing every year. Even if people don't play orcs, they still love them? Sure. I put drivers in my Gaslands build for my stock of 72nd scale pilots I rarely ever used. That's pretty cool. Mantic Elves will be updated in the 3rd book. Arrogance is launched, so sometime next year. However, the Mantic Elves being Bob Naismith scalps means they sell. I've never seen, I don't think, even any of the ones from them. Huh, weird. True narrative play is throwing a handful of popcorn into the air over the table and then measuring 12-inch blast circles where it lands. I've seen stuff like that. Years and years ago at Gen Con, back when it was Milwaukee, I remember walking around in like the miniature hall, and there was a dude dressed in like navy whites. Like he had like the fancy like white jacket and the hat and all this stuff, and he was just sort of standing there, and he had binoculars and like a flag. This has got to be in the 90s, maybe the early 2000s, before they moved, because they moved in 2003, I think they moved to Indiana. So it was probably in the late 90s. And I'm just like walking, and I'm just like, I see the guy, and I'm like, hey, how's it going? He's like, would you like to take a shot? And I'm like, in Wisconsin. So I'm like, as soon as someone says, would you like to take a shot? I assume they're offering me booze. And I'm like, it's early in the morning, and I also don't see a bottle. So I'm like, what? And he's like, would you like to fire over at that game? And so he points, and it's like the other side of the convention hall that we're in. There's like a beachhead, and there's a bunch of people playing and all this stuff. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, we're doing artillery. So sometimes people will just fire artillery at the, so long story short, he gives me the binoculars, and they've taped like a laser pointer to it. So he holds up the flag until somebody over there who's running the game sees, and then they hold up a flag. And then he's like, just tell me when you want to shoot. Just do 3 shots. So I'm just looking through the binoculars, and I can see the laser pointer, and then I'm just like, fire, and then he raises the flag, and then they put a marker down, and then I just shell the beach, and then they all have to deal with it. And then I'm like, okay, bye. You just go on your way, and that's what they do. And I thought it was kind of crazy. There was also a big Car Wars arena that they ran every year too, and they would just people who were just hanging around watching every once in a while, they would give them a 6-sider and tell them to roll, and it was just a gunshot from the audience basically at the cars as they're going by. And I think if you had to hit on a 6 or something like that, but so that's very narrative, obviously, you know, when you get that stuff involved. But yeah, like the guy, I don't know if it was like full real like Navy, you know, dress whites or whatever, but he looked very fancy. And he had this flag and stuff, and then these binoculars, and it was just the craziest. I thought it was a super cool concept, and we were easily 50 feet away from the other. It was like a big building area thingy. Would keeping it in high percentage isopropyl ruin it? I would not trust isopropyl alcohol with the rubber parts in it as much as I would trust water with the rubber parts, frankly. So. Playing historical scenarios is often to reproduce what happened back then. My group normally plays these types of games. I've never been into historicals partially because of that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to like recreate it. Maybe recreate how it started and then see if we can make it happen different. If that's what you mean, then that's cool. But the whole concept of like, well, then on turn 3, these guys all ran away, you know, because that's what happened. I mean, like that I don't want for me personally, but. Some rules are a lot better at emergent storytelling. Those are some fun words, but I exactly know what you're talking about. Some rules are better at corner ruins in a mirror. There you go. Thinner I use for acrylics is straight isopropyl, or 70% rather. Gotcha. I pay about $6 for 500 milliliters of 70% isopropyl. I steer clear of any paint that stipulates anything else. Gotcha. Corning from Colorado, working on my healthsmiths. Very cool. I read that Svengoolie is getting his name on a Zamboni. Well, that's pretty neat. Mm-hmm. The thing that helped me the most with airbrushing is filtering the paint to remove any chunks. Haven't had a single clog since. Interesting. I don't think the only stuff I've ever had get chunky was the Ultra Matte varnish from AK Interactive that I bought a long time ago. All of a sudden one day it just clumped like a lot, and then I didn't use it anymore. And now I don't buy anything from AK, but that's a different story. Any advice on army paint or speed paints when the pigment settles hard at the bottom? I'm using a mixer, but it still won't fully remix. In those situations, I have a tendency to take the nozzle bit off, and I'll actually stick something down in there, a stick or whatever, and just wiggle it around. I've not had it happen too much. But I could see it. I would be worried about any rubber gaskets soaking in isopropyl for extended periods. Yeah, potentially. The Champion Road Grader plant is only an hour away from here, so we have pretty immediate access here if plowing is needed. That's helpful. What design is on your coffee mug? Oh, it's a coffee mug from a company called Effin' Birds. But yeah. That particular one does have an owl on it, yes. If I need to play on a building interior, I draw a map. Oh, okay, makes sense. Mantic's very first hard plastic releases were elves packaged in VHS cases. Oh, God. I might remember that. I might. They were kind of small. It's an awesome way to add random events. Yeah, like I said, like at conventions, it totally makes sense. Because at a convention, especially if you're all just hanging out playing a game, then that kind of randomness is a lot of fun. And obviously, like, it sticks with people sometimes. Like, I'm still talking about it years later. But yeah, those are the two main ones that I remember. So that beachhead, you know, whatever the heck kind of game that was, I got to do some shelling. And then it was an octagon. Somebody had built this giant octagon. It was probably, I don't know, 5 feet, maybe 4 feet across, but it was a big honking octagon, and they were playing Car Wars on it. Back before Car Wars got kind of big to the size of like Matchbox cars, it was back then they used micro machines. is what they used, I think, if I remember correctly. They used Micro Machines. Like if you played normal Car Wars, like you bought it and played it, then you had little cardboard thingies, little cardboard chits that you used. That's how I played it back when I was in college. But when you're at a convention, you're playing on a big board that you built anyway, you might as well use Micro Machines. And so, yeah, but every once in a while, like the person running the game would just like hand a D6 to some person who just walked up and was like, what is going on over here? And you'd be like, hey, roll. And then, you know, you maybe got a little gunfire. Let's see here. I dunk my cheap one in water, then spray for a couple seconds, let them dry. Sometimes isopropyl or wash liquid. I don't have a clogging problem with primer. Yeah, I mean, it depends on the primer, I suppose, too. I mostly, almost all I shoot through my airbrush for primer these days is the matte black Army Painter primer. Every once in a while, the white Army Painter primer, I have a bottle of the gray, but I've never used it because I just do everything in black. Now, I'm trying to convince Army Painter to start making some colors other than just black, white, and gray. I want brown, dark brown. I want purple. I would like a bone or a khaki color. I think that'd be great. That's what I want. And I think that we're maybe heading in the right direction. Black Oath Entertainment made an update to a great narrative tabletop wargame. It's miniature agnostic Warlord Ascendant. I've never heard of that. Interesting. Generally, the scenarios are often to see if you can do better or why things turned out the way they did. We're starting a 1940 War in France campaign. Well, that sounds cool. What improved is a good compressor with a tank that goes on the 50 PSI. See, I always shoot at 20 PSI. It's interesting. Filtering your paint through pantyhose is a well-known technique in the plastic modeling world. Huh. I've seen mesh metal cups that you put literally into the cup on the top of the airbrush and you squirt the paint through it. I would think pantyhose wouldn't be quite small enough to catch anything that would cause you trouble, but I guess it depends. I don't know a lot about pantyhose, as it turns out. Let's see here. Played a 3-player game of Death Wizards last night before continuing our Dark Heresy campaign. It's an absolute blast. Well, I appreciate that. That's also one of our. I mean, I like all of our games, but Death Wizards, Space Station 0, Majestic 13, I think are the ones that, after play, I think speak to me the most. Like I enjoy, Rain in Hell, Rain in Iron, but I don't know why. I think it's maybe, if anything, I think maybe it's the story a little bit of those, because in one of them it's like, oh, we're stuck on this big giant space station and we don't know how we can get out of here, but we're going to try to figure it out. The other one is like kind of an X-Files meets XCOM kind of thing with Majestic 13. And then in Death Wizards, you get to play a necromancer and have a bunch of undead friends, and that's always cool. So, I don't know. I don't know if 3D prints use the same names for parts, but in a paper printer, the print head is the part that moves about. I don't know if they do either. That's a good question. I don't know. Why don't you buy anything from AK? As a company, I don't like some of the things they've done in the past. They made a resource book about the best way to paint concentration camps if you're going to make like a diorama. And yes, that is history, and I get it. But the way they did it was really weird. It was like a really weird kind of edgy, extreme kind of like thing that they did with the book. And then people were like, hey, this is maybe not cool. And then they sort of doubled down on it and stuff. And so as an organization, I just don't want to work with them and don't want to buy any of their stuff. If you just type in AK Interactive Controversy on YouTube or Google, you'll find more information. But that's basically where that comes from. Is that a superb owl on the mug? It's a pretty good owl. It's pretty good. Let's see here. Problematic tutorials involving painting concentration camp victims and some insensitive. Yeah, exactly. Spending the morning working on converting hide, stone, and bone from Osprey, from cavemen to goblin clans. I'm not familiar with those models either. Huh. PA colored primers are pretty great. PA, Pennsylvania? Oh, Pro Acryl? Pro Acryl. I think that's what you mean. Right, yeah. I want an Army Painter airbrush primer in colors for all of those Marines that are in space. They'd sell. I agree. I totally agree. I told them what they should aim for is they have all those rattle can primer colors. They should make airbrush primers that match all of those. That would be great. They should do that, and hopefully soon. Like I said, we had a meeting a while back where I swear to God, I felt like that was a thing that was like, we're heading in that direction. So hopefully. Because I've been bugging him about it for a while. Our decorator used to sieve his gloss paint through nylon tights. He produced the smoothest gloss I've ever seen. Interesting. We used to cut chits out of thin balsa sheet at the same size as the cardboard chits and glue micro machine cars and trucks. Yeah, they either did that or you could scale it up a little bit and then glue the cars to them. Yeah. Use the DeLorean and a police car from Back to the Future too. Nice. I think my Badger compressor only puts out about 14 PSI. It works fine for what I do. Like I said, I generally shoot at 20. I think everybody's got a different PSI they like to use, but I use different primers depending on if I'm working with plastics or resin. Interesting. For lack of colored primer from Army Painter, I usually just mix a couple drops of satin varnish into whatever color I'm using, and it does all right. Just watched your piece on terrain pieces for competition. What happens to all that? Is it going to shed or do they sell it? No, they store it in between. Like, they have a big, huge warehouse. They don't throw it away. I had a bunch of people ask that. They're like, oh, did they just throw it all away after the convention? I'm like, no. They do have a big honking warehouse, but it was not in the same town. So I traveled to Peoria, but the warehouse is in another city. And so Bloomingdale, Bloomin' Onion. I don't know. It's someplace else in Illinois. And so I couldn't go there and shoot, but it's literally just a big warehouse full of big plastic tubs. So I think what they do is at the end of every show, they go, maybe this terrain needs to be retired because it's beat up or it's old stuff that we've had, pre-2018 or maybe whatever. And so then they put that on the list for stuff to replace basically in the next upcoming year in time for next year's show. And then they just do that. But no, they don't throw the stuff away. And I don't, when they do finally have to replace things, I don't know if they even sell it or I don't know what they do with it. That's a good question. They maybe donate it if it's in decent shape. Like if it gets beat up and stuff like that, but especially with storage and transport and thousands of people touching it and stuff like that. What are you gonna do? Let me see here. Peace on train. Any plans for expansions for Death Wizards or Majestic 13? I mean, we did. With Snarl, we did some expansions. So if we go to the zine, let's see here. So there was a Death Wizards expansion in the Snarl 2025. So Snarl is the little zine that we do in November every year, and it's download only. You can't buy a print version because they won't print it. It's a long story. Anyway, but it's a small little thing. So you get a game in there, a micro game called Chrome Rangers. And then there's also an add-on to Death Wizards in Snarl 2025, which is called The Cruel Grimoire. And then in Snarl 2024, there was a Majestic 13 add-on called New Gear Drop, and there was also Death Wizards Fresh Creations. So there was also an expansion there. There was also another Rain in Hell one as well. And then in Snarl 2023, there was an expansion, again, for Rain in Hell, and also an expansion for Space Station Zero. And the micro game in that edition was called Tanks for the Apocalypse. The micro game that was in Snarl 2024 is the Great Goblin Argle Bargle. So there you go. Anyway, you can find all this over at snarlingbadger.com. Boop, there we go. Off to a weekly local hobby hangout to work on some Bad Ab War Marines. Hope you all have a great weekend. You too. Bad Rabbit, how you doing? Is no one painting Blood Bowl today? Maybe. More recently, AK released a Soviet armor in the Ukraine war book and once again marketed it with similarly tone-deaf manner. Yeah. Got to get up at 5:30 to go set up for a superb owl watch party I'm VJing. Well, that sounds crazy. Well, have a good night. Love to see how they organize the scenery inventory on spreadsheets. I mean, I guess I assume they must, probably. Yeah, I'm sure they probably do have some sort of thing like that. Bloomington or Bloomingdale? That's a good question. Speaking of Death Wizards, is there a suggested model article? Like what makes a shadow different from a specter or a white? It's whatever you want it to be, frankly. But there is... If you go to the news thingy and you scroll here, this article, Raising the Dead from Plastic or Resin or Metal, this is basically, there's a lot of different places you can get models from that we list for you, you know, et cetera, and all that kind of jazz. So you can find that information. Whenever we launch a game, we always have to post an article telling people where to go find models because... So yeah, I would tell you to do that. But as far as like what makes a white, what makes a shade, that's up to you. It's totally up to you. Got the zines. Are there plans for more? No. Like we don't do expansions. Like we don't do like a book that's like, hey, here's a expansion. You know what I mean? Like once we've made Majestic 13, other than stuff that's in Snarl, we're not going to make like a second edition, God forbid. We're also not going to make like an add-on entire extra book. That's kind of not what we do. In my opinion, Games Workshop has trained the industry that that's what you're supposed to do. So there's always, because we literally day one, when we launched Reign in Hell, day one, I had multiple comments in the video. They're like, so what's the first expansion? And I'm like, you don't even have the book yet. What are you talking about? Like, that's the thing that I think that, ooh, yeah, Games Workshop really needs to, they need to, whoops, sorry, wrong screen. They need to stop that, or at least, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure, but it's the fact that, yeah, the fact that the industry is so trained that you're like, oh, I've just bought that book. What's the next book that I got to buy? Like, play the game first. You know what I mean? Anyway, so I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm saying the industry has been trained to some degree by GW about book. You got to carry 6 books. I was at the game store a couple days ago, and a guy was in there. I was in there talking to my friend who owns the game store and stuff, and the guy was like, yeah, I've been hearing about Necromunda. And a friend of mine says it's pretty easy to play. And I was like, I have not found that to be the case. And he's like, oh, yeah. And then I go over to like the Necromunda area and I'm like, you need this big book here. And he's like, whoa. And I'm like, and at least one, if not maybe 2 more books as well. And he's like, just to play it? And I'm like, yeah, I just, you know, I'm like, anyway. So I'm not, yeah, we're not making, I mean, we made a sequel to one of our games. We made Rain and Iron back in 2025, which is a sequel, standalone sequel, by the way, to Rain in Hell. And that didn't sell, man. Rain and Iron, just people did not buy that book, which is crazy because I thought the art was really good. I thought the cover was maybe a little bit of a problem, but that's on me. The art's really good. It's a great game. It's a very interesting game because you get to play, like, you have one faction that is all ranged weapons and one faction that is all hand-to-hand. And that shouldn't work. But Vince is very smart, and he figured out how to make it work. And it's a really interesting, cool game that way. But, yeah, we'll never do a sequel again, that's for sure. Oof, man, oh, man. Shadow is black, Spectre is greenish, white is white. Well, I mean, you could. Oh, there's William. Sorry, Hank, right there says donate it to stores or staff. That's what they do with the extra terrain. That makes sense. We will often create a new travel set of terrain that we'll loan out to ship to other events. That's very cool. So, yeah, William Edley there, 9119. That's Hank. Hank and Matthias are the main 2 folks that run Adepticon. So I was there at Hank's during the spray team thing. Because yeah, I've had people, Hank, I've had a lot of people being like, so did they just throw it away then at the end of the show? And I'm like, no, I guess I should have said, and then they put it in storage in a place. But I should have, yeah, but I should have said, no, they just, they spend the rest of the year with all that terrain. They just go out and drive around in the woods and huck it at squirrels, I guess. I don't know. That's what I would have done. But no, yeah, it's stored, and there's like big giant tubs, those big black ones with the yellow lids. I don't know why those are so, they're just really satisfying. Like the regular ones that are thinner. Like I've got a garage full of the black and yellow ones right now. My plan was to move a bunch of stuff from the basement out to the garage over the summer so that we could then kind of clean and readjust the basement. But then when we had to move my mom out of her condo, and then and then she passed. Now my garage is full of black and yellow tubs full of her stuff. So we're going to try to figure that out. Excuse me, this spring. But because I don't want to do it right now because it's cold and stupid outside. But yeah, I don't know. Those tubs are awesome. Those big black and yellow ones are really nice. And they're made by lots of different manufacturers. I've gotten them at Lowe's and Menards, and you can tell they're different because some of them, the pattern on the top is like squares, and sometimes it's like diamonds. I don't know. Anyway, but they all fit. Maybe too broad a question, but is there such a thing as printing too much terrain? Thinking about ordering some bulk filament, going crazy with my A1 Mini. It depends on what you want. It depends on space you have. Like I said, I've printed a lot of this stuff. These things are super cool. I don't know. They're just, like, this is the only one where it's one part and you have the two curvy bits. If you see back here, the rest of those are all like just half of this, but like bigger and taller, and they're all different shapes. And I want to use these in the background for a bunch of photography that I'm going to be doing for our next game. So you guys are learning something about the game, that there's rock in the next game, or could be. But these are just great. I just like these a lot. So I've been printing a bunch of these, and I think I'm done now because there was like 7 different designs in the package from My Mini Factory. And so, yeah. The company that makes those, if you're wondering about the STLs, I've been pronouncing it Charlie, but it's not spelled that way. It's spelled T as in Tom, X as in X-ray, A-R-L-I. I don't know why, but that's how it's spelled. But if you go and look on My Mini Factory, it's that. And then they will have these rock formations on there and a bunch of other cool stuff too. I have an okay amount of space, so I can, that's part of why I've been printing, but I'm also working on, like, my big kind of project this summer is to build a couple different boards that are sci-fi, 2x2, 3x3, possibly even a 4x4. And then have enough stuff to basically kind of, I want to be able to play Blackout on a 2x2. I want to be able to play Space Weirdos on a 2x2. I want to be able to play some other kind of sci-fi games. I want to be able to play one-page rules, whatever, Grimdark Firefight, whatever the solo one is called. Shoot. Space something. Quest. There we go. Quest. I knew I was going to get it eventually. Yes. Space Quest or Star Quest, whatever it's called. It's a really cool system. I think I'm going to make a video about it because I heard about it when they launched it last year, and I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds kind of cool, but I didn't pay attention. But then I was listening to the Hive Scum podcast, and they were talking about how much fun they were having with it. And I was like, huh. And then I went and looked at it again, and I'm like, oh, this is really cool. So anyway, I'm thinking about making a video about it. Charlie Factory? That might be what it's called. I don't know. It's not official terrain for the new game. It just will, well, it'll look super dope in pictures, and also it's just cool, but it's not official terrain. I'm also going to take, and I won't be able to share this with anybody, obviously, because it's not, but I think for my own, I think it's legal and fine for your own usage if I just take like the flat bits down here. Like if I was to cut off this part in Blender or whatever and cut off this part and then just like print, like double this up. Like sometimes in a picture you want something in the foreground and then the miniatures stand behind it, right? Like let's say here's the miniature, but this is just that's a Grey Knight. Never mind. There's no Grey Knights in our game. But like in the photography, you don't want to see him standing crookedly on the rocks, but you might want to have him standing slightly behind the rocks. So I want to print some like foreground rocks as well, just for myself. So I think I'm just going to take parts from some of these files and just get rid of the big pointy bits and then just use the middle parts and then print them together. So I'll probably do a little bit of that just for photography. They won't actually be useful for like in-game, but you know, when we run demos, we could totally use this stuff too, and other things too. But God, I can't wait for you guys to see the artwork. We just sent off the contract yesterday to the artist, and he's just, it's really good. It's really super cool stuff. That is crazy amount of work to just toss. Yeah, I never thought that you just tossed it. I just, in my head, I thought it'd be funny to just see just whipping it out the window of a car or something like that at like, I don't know, deer or something. I don't know. I don't know why that's funny to me, but it is funny. I mean, you'd miss the deer and the deer would be like, I don't know why you did, you know. But Necromunda is crunchy. OPR Grimdark Firefight Gang War and 5 parsecs from home gang warfare, not as much. Yeah, I mean, definitely like the OPR Gang War stuff I think is cool. I definitely think that's cool. Looking at getting Rain and Iron this week. Had to get my finances assembled because I got 2 weeks over Christmas with no income at all. Well, that's no fun. I bought Rain and Iron. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Do you think Adepticon will have large attendance this year? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Probably. I swear I read someplace that their pre-registration was ahead of last year, and last year was 10 or 11,000 people. So yeah, I'm sure it will. Let's see here. Haven't played Rain and Iron yet, but I bought it, keen to give it a try when I find a willing opponent. Well, you can also play it solo. And co-op. My work uses a ton of those black and yellow ones, mainly the IT department. Sure. Black and yellow totes are on sale at Costco right now. Nice. We used to have a Costco membership, but then we let it lapse. I don't know. It's like a couple towns over, and I used to work in that city, so it would be really easy for me sometimes to stop there and pick things up. But these days, yeah, I don't know. We just kind of let it lapse. I think it was over the pandemic. We let it lapse. We haven't really done it, but we usually either get them at Lowe's or at Menards. If it were up to me, I'd put all the leftover terrain in a giant trebuchet and use that to decide the location of the next event. That's funny. I don't know if it would work, but it's funny. Useless Wizard, how you doing? I find Necromunda compelling because I technically already know the rule set, considering it's based on 2nd edition 40K, the edition I started with. Sure. Looking to get a 3D printer, I'm leaning towards more of the Bamboo A1. Do you think this is a good machine? I own one. Well, technically I own 2. I broke the first one. This is a me problem, so don't do what I did. But the second one has been running like a champ nonstop nearly. I mean, it's currently technically stopped because it got done with a print about 3 o'clock this morning. But once I get done here, I'm going to go down and start printing on it again. But yeah, I mean, this, I don't know if you want, it's not in focus. Like if I do this, you guys can't, it doesn't autofocus. But it's really nice. You know, this is me printing. I think the layer height is 0.08. So it's the really fine layer height. But I'm using a regular 0.4 millimeter nozzle. So a piece like this still takes maybe, I don't know, 16, 17 hours to print, but you know, I don't have to sit there and stare at it the entire time. I just let it run, you know, and it makes really good stuff. And then once this is printed and painted, then I have it forever. You know what I mean? So if I had like a deadline, or if I had to get a lot of stuff out to sell to people or something like that, then I would see trying to like figure out how I can make things print faster. But for me, because I want something that looks like really good and doesn't have like lots of striations and stuff like that from the print process, I generally print like, you know, with the better print quality. Even though I'm not using the like super tiny nozzle, there is a smaller nozzle you could use, a 0.2 millimeter, that would take that thing into like 30 or 40 hour range to print. And I'm like, it's not, for terrain, I don't notice the big difference, honestly. Now, if I was printing miniatures, if I was trying to print like dudes this tall, but with filament printer, then you want to use obviously the 0.2 nozzle, and we'll see. And then again, we're back at the nozzle. The nozzle. But the A1's a great machine. People have asked me about the A1 versus the A1 Mini, and I did not realize the A1 Mini has a smaller print area. If you want to try printing miniatures, I hear a lot of people say the A1 Mini is a little bit better for that. But if you want to be printing terrain, the slightly larger print area on the A1, not the Mini, but the regular A1 is pretty good. It's 256 by 256 by 256 millimeters. Basically, the print area is like a cube, I think. Jim Crimmins, how you doing? Can you and Vince make a game that will utilize the miniatures from the Myth Kickstarter game? It was made by the Merc Skirmish game at Mega. I own a copy of it. I didn't do the Kickstarter for that game, but I did. I bought it like at an auction years later, and then I've never touched it because I don't know why, because I'm me. Yeah. I mean, technically, you could use a bunch of those models for Death Wizards. There's like cool skeletons in there, right? Isn't there cool skeletons? You could use lots of cool skeletons in Death Wizards. Also, the problem, though, I'm going to be perfectly frank with you, is if we made a game that was like, yeah, and you can use these models, most people would be like, I don't have those models, and you can't get those models anymore. I'd be like, true. You know, it's true. It's a bummer. I wish that MegaCon hadn't kind of crashed and burned. Yeah, you know what I mean? I don't know. I liked Mercs. Another company picked up the Mercs license and it was going to do something with it, but they haven't that I've seen so far. So yeah. Modifying files that are optimized for printing is often more of a pain than I think it should be. Always totally doable, but still a pain. Sure. I think that I could definitely see that with resin, but in FDM, most times, because they're not pre-supported when you do like, whoops. Most of the models that I 3D print that are filament, every once in a while, like even, I don't believe that this one needed any supports, which was crazy because I would tell the thing, hey, support it if it needs it. And it was like, no, this one's fine. One of those back there was like a support that needed to be way up at the top of the tip of one of these bigger pieces, but that was about it. Is there a way to 3D print without having to deal with dangerous chemicals or having to vent out my house? I mean, yeah, I mean, if you do filament stuff, like I don't, so if you use a filament style printer, like a Bamboo Lab, like an A1, like I was just talking about, and you print with something called PLA, which is probably the easiest filament to print with, you don't really need to ventilate anything. Like let's say you lived in I was going to say a porta potty, but technically those are ventilated on the top. If you lived in a car, I would probably not print in that car or even a van. I'm not sure if I would print in an RV either, but if you print in anything else, you don't really need to ventilate PLA too much. You'll smell, when I get close to the printer when it's running, it smells slightly sweet. That's all I get. It's like a slight sweet burning plastic smell, just a tiny little bit, and that's about it. People in the comments every once in a while are like, well, it's the most deadly thing that you could ever have happen. And I'm like, I don't know that that's true, but whatever. You know, I clunked the mic, sorry. But that's always kind of the case on the internet. But yeah, no, filament style printing like that is not, I would say, dangerous really in most any way. Again, like if you're doing it in your car that you live in, not necessarily a great move. But otherwise, it shouldn't be a problem. It doesn't take up a ton of space. The stuff isn't particularly expensive, depending on where you buy it from. The filament stuff on the spool. That's why I'm doing this, because it's on a spool. Now, if it's resin printing, totally different story. Resin printing, there's a lot of fumes. You definitely want to be ventilating with resin printing, I find. Yeah, resin printing is a totally different story, but filament printing for making terrain and stuff like this and whatever, it's pretty good. Looks great, but oh boy, how slow it is. Yeah, it takes a long time, but I mean, you know, you set it and forget it to some degree. That's how I do it generally. Conflict 47 is Trench Crusade for World War II. Thoughts? I mean, well, they're both alternate history. It's just when they alternate, like when history splits, that's really what happens. Conflict 47 is when they tested the first nuke, it, if I remember correctly from back in the day, it tore a little hole in reality. I don't know. And then there was a radio signal that was coming through, and then we started to translate the radio signal, and then we learned all kinds of new stuff. It was a bunch of crazy, like, scientific things and whatever, and then that's how we started making mechs. And then the Allies bombed Dresden instead of bombing Japan, because we got further ahead in the timeline, basically. And then they had a little hole that was feeding out radio waves, and then all of a sudden the Germans, you know, the Axis, they got also, you know, new technologies and all that kind of stuff. Whereas Trench Crusade back in the 11th century or whatever, right? When the Knights Templar went into Jerusalem, they unintentionally, I guess, opened a doorway to hell. And then there has been, basically the Crusades have been going on ever since. And now it's 1914, roughly. So it's kind of like, well, it's World War II era, and things look a little bit World War II-ish, but because war's been going on and the technology's been advancing in the lore, the church has a space program that started in the 1800s, I think. So things are kind of a bit further ahead. But also it is literally the church fighting the forces of hell. So that's not going on in Conflict 47. A 0.4 millimeter nozzle on my A1 took 36 hours to print the front and back armor sections of the ATTE from the Darkfire designs. Wow, that's a long print. I think the longest print I ever had was maybe 30 hours. I don't remember what it was now. Every time someone says nozzle, I think Admiral Nozzle is as clumsy as he is stupid. I see. That's different. That's technically Ozzle, I think, isn't it? K Pasa, how you doing? Good thing on how you 3D print. Decision for speed either saves you personal time or increases it. Yeah, like I don't want to have to, like I can, in many situations, especially pieces like this that are a lot more kind of like organic and stuff like that, you just don't really barely see any lines. So you do the right priming over the top of it, and it looks great. I had the A1 Mini, and I wish I had the regular A1 for some of the larger terrain models. That's the thing I would be concerned about, because like I said, until someone asked me just recently, I didn't realize that the A1 Mini is like 190 by 190, I think. So that's, I mean, it's not a ton of millimeters, but it's a few. You know what I mean? In my experience, A1 Mini's printing area is limiting. I upgraded to Bamboo P1S, and it was a great investment. Nice. Haven't touched my Myth Minis since all the Kickstarter stuff finally arrived. Yeah. A1 is a fantastic printer, especially if you want something that is almost completely plug and print. Yeah, I've told this story before, but from the time that I cut the tape on the box when I first got it till the time that I took this little benchmark boat off of the print plate, finished, it was less than an hour. It's like 57 minutes. So I opened it, took the stuff out, had to put it together because there's just like two parts you have to sort of screw together, and you have to plug this thing in, whatever. Calibrated, all that jazz, yada, yada, yada. Okay, print the boat, print, 20 minutes or 19 minutes or something like that. Boom. So yeah, it's the A1 Bamboo Lab in general is about as plug and play as you get from everything I know. Having trouble deciding whether I want to buy a new Bamboo or keep trying to tune my i3 Mega S. I don't know what that is. Sorry. A van down by the river? Could be. PLA is plant-based, isn't it? Yeah, I think sort of. I feel like PLA is better than ABS and both are safer than resin. Yeah, ABS, you probably want to ventilate, from what I've been told. I've never printed ABS, so I don't know. But ABS is, from what I understand, is just designed for like if you need a part to be really strong. Like if you were 3D printing a thing to put into a machine, maybe, or like a prototype for a whatever. Yeah, I don't know. But for terrain, you should probably never need anything other than PLA. Like this is not a load bearing. like if I really reefed on this piece here, I think I could break it. But I was trying to print. One thing you shouldn't try to do is try to print 8-inch by 8-inch tiles because you almost always get some warping, which I didn't realize until I started trying to do. Like I designed this tile. This was like this first tile, and I started designing other tiles. And I'm like, well, I should print it and see how it prints. And it always peels up, and I've been trying to mess with it and everything like that. But I can't break this. You know what I mean? So ABS is even stronger from what I understand, but for terrain, you don't have to worry. I don't think I know anybody who prints terrain out of anything other than PLA. Let's see here. What kind of printer do you use? I have a Bamboo Lab A1. I usually run an Air Doctor purifier when FDM printing to take care of any errant extra fine particles. I should look into do something like that. That's not a bad idea. I could put something like right close to it. It's like it's in the basement, and the basement is about as big as the entire house. Like it's just a big, giant honking room. So that's not too bad, but I wouldn't be a terrible idea to put some sort of filter nearby. Has anyone tried a smaller nozzle on the A1? What's the impact on layer lines? Oh, they get way, way smaller. I did a video. What the heck was that? It might have been in late 2023. I did a video about this game called, I think the video is called something like The Future of Wargaming. And there's this game made by Fat Dragon Games, and it is called Battlefront Valkyrie. I think it's called Battlefront Valkyrie. The Valkyrie part I'm sure of. I'm not as sure about the Battlefront. Battlefield? No, it's Battlefront, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, it's a space combat game, and the ships look kind of Star Trek-y, but they're Star Trek-esque, let's say that. But if you print them with a 0.2 nozzle, and they're designed to be printed for FDM, like they're physically designed that they work best if you print them in FDM, well, maybe best is a strong term. But if you print them with the 0.2 nozzle and use the settings that they tell you, they look great. They look really good. And I printed them in with the 0.4 nozzle and the 0.2 nozzle just to get the to look at the difference. And it's quite noticeable. But it also, they're also pretty small in comparison. They're not like a piece of terrain. Again, if I printed this in 0.2, it would easily take 30 to 35 hours, whereas I think this maybe, like I said, took 17 to 20 tops. But yeah. Have you tried a glue stick? I started using one years ago, never looked back. Doesn't it get all kind of gunky on the underside of your terrain then? Because someone mentioned that recently too. I just don't know if trying to print 8-inch squares is a smart move. I don't know. Like the idea that I had when I first started working on these things is I'm like, well, I will design a bunch of these, like I'll design a simple, completely just a normal one. And then I'll have like maybe some sewer grates in one of them. And then I'll have like, and different like kind of sci-fi looking stuff. And then if these are 8-inch squares, then you could print 9 of them, let's say, and then make a 3x3 grid of them, which 8-inch, 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 that makes a 2-foot by 2-foot board. I was like, well, that's kind of cool. And then it would be like a cool sci-fi looking. I honestly am like playing the Cyberpunk 2077 game and walking around in the fancier parts of the city. Like you'd be walking around and I'm like, is this supposed to be concrete or is this metal? It looks just really cool. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of what I was trying to mimic a little bit here in something like this. But like I said, it's just kind of warped, on the corners and everything like that. Now I know, and I'm using a brim around it. I'm doing all the fancy stuff that's built into the software, and it's still, Now, I know if these had rounded corners, if I had like a radius, no problem. Because I've printed stuff nearly this large that I used as a base for a piece of terrain, but it had a radius, and then it had no problem. The thing is I'm trying to glue a bunch of these together on a board. And so if I decide to have a radius, then I either have to print a thing to fill in that spot. I don't know. Anyway, so I've kind of stalled on this project, but it's interesting. I also, this one didn't get all the way to print, but you can see how it got, well, maybe you can see how it got weird on the corners because they started to lift and stuff. This is before I started using brims. I was just using corner brims, or brim ears as they call them. Anyway, so I think I'm just going to go back to trying to design actual terrain pieces as opposed to design the tiles. Because initially I went to just go look for tiles. I'm like, I should just be able to find 8x8 tiles and be able to, well, most people don't do them, and I'm wondering now if I know why. But otherwise, I never have problems with adhesion with like literally anything else I do except for those big 8-inch squares. I've heard of that, but I haven't tried it yet. Have to. Room temperature can affect adhesion too. It is cold in the basement because it's winter. Yeah, I've heard that too. I find anything below 70 degrees can start giving me adhesion issues and curling. So maybe I'll be able to give it a try in the summer again, maybe. Because right now, yeah, it's like I've got a thermometer down in the basement. It hovers between 63 degrees Fahrenheit down to 59 sometimes. So yeah, that is a problem. I did raise the heat also on the bed up to 70 degrees C, or 75, 70, I think. But still, make sure there's no random drafts. A Fred had her printer near a window and it messed up her prints. Oh, sure. Yeah, I could see that too. I tried the top of a fantasy healer's house and it took more than 3 days. Whoa, that's crazy. It isn't cold, but it's not warm. Maybe I'll put it on the table. No. I have mine near a window and it's only this time of year I don't like it there. Sure. Motors are also better in the A1, which is what I got Googling around. It's not just the bed size. So in terms of performance, A1 is better. I had not heard that. Around May, I would be using the window I intended. Gotcha. With all the 15mm World War II we've been playing, my Bamboo Lab has saved me a ton on models between vehicles, tanks, and terrain. Buildings are great. Sure. Anti-ballistic styrene. Is that what it's actually called? ABS? Temperature makes sense because it's printed great all summer, just issues lately like the cold. I can see that. It's an older Anycubic FDM printer. I gotcha. PETG is good if you're going to transport it a lot, in case you leave it in your car. Huh, I had no idea. If you want to make tools or something, including medical instruments or toys, PETG will help them last longer. No kidding. I know back during the pandemic, my friend Matt, he was printing a lot of those. It's like this rubbery stuff, and it's like a thing that it's like you're wearing a mask, and it's supposed to go behind your ears. And if you're wearing a mask all day, like you're a medical professional, it starts to like shred the back of your ears. So they would make these kind of printed doohickeys that you would that went behind your head, and it had like a lot of little hooks in it, kind of. And then depending on how big your head was, then you would just hook the band in those. He was printing those and then just like taking them to hospitals or whatever, or something like that. There was a bunch of people doing that. Kind of like people are doing with the whistles now, kind of. If you want to make tools for something, I read that one. For scale modeling or terrain, PLA will do perfectly. Yeah, I've had good luck with it. Everything, it paints up great too, that's for sure. So I discovered that the dollar store sells PLU filaments marketed for 3D printing at the amount of 5 meters for 1.25 Canadian dollars. 5 meter? That's weird. That's not that much. Is it? No, not really. Like, so when I buy stuff, when I buy filament, you buy it in kilos, and it comes on it either comes on a spool, but the stuff that I buy from Bamboo Lab, I buy straight from them now, just comes on a cardboard core. And then, because the spools that I bought when I first bought the printer are reusable, you can pull them apart and then chuck the core and then snap a new core in there and put them back together. So it's cheaper than buying the whole, you're just buying the filament and the cardboard thing and not the whole thing. So yeah, I've been doing that. But yeah, normally it's by kilo. I've never seen it. And I don't know what PLU is. Well, that's a good question. I've not heard of that. I mostly print cosplay stuff, but the glue has never been an issue on the prints after. Plus, it's on the bottom and no one sees it. Oh, well, just like, yeah, it would be on the bottom, but then I mean, like everything's gonna be sticky unless you can figure out, like, if maybe isopropyl alcohol could take it off the bottom. I don't know. I don't like things being sticky. I'm weird that way. For large prints, I prefer the smooth plate. The warping is less compared to the textured plate. Interesting. If you're having warping issues with flat tiles, you need to dial in your bed temperature for the first few layers. Maybe print the first layers 10 degrees hotter to get them to stick better. I've looked at it too, and it's later on that they come off. Like they'll be fine I'll come down there and watch it when it first starts, and yeah, they were flat, great, and then it's eventually then it starts to pop up. So I'm wondering if it's warping because of I don't know. Yeah. Whiskey Mike, how you doing? Working on new Necrons and some old ones I found in my bits box. Nice. Maybe a laser cutter with MDF would get you what you want. If it's just for me, I'll do something else. But my thought was I thought it'd be cool if I could design these and then people on the Patreon could have them and then print their own cool 2 foot by 2 foot, like weird sci-fi boards to be able to put stuff on and everything. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe that becomes a later on sort of thing once I figure out some of the other problems. Cryo Grip build plate works great if you are having adhesion issue on the A1 and also allows lower temps. Interesting. A lot of people in our group print 6x6 panels for Necromunda terrain. We print them standing on the edge. Oh, well, then it wouldn't warp. I don't think you could print this on the edge, though. Maybe. I don't know. It's a good question. You mean standing up like this when you say on the edge, right? If you need some terrain, it uses the Grid Forge system from Second Dynasty, but I have some stone slab tiles for it. They are 1 to 1 and 4-inch tiles, something to check out. Like I thought about doing smaller tiles and everything like that, but I was just like, I don't know. Like if I want to make a 2 foot by 2 foot board, I would just like to make 9 8-inch by 8-inch, tiles and then be done with it. But like I said, they don't print as well as I would like. Thinking about it, we have P1S, the bed motion of the A1 might be an issue. I mean, it is a bed slinger, so it's possible, I guess. I've been printing Slaughterscape tiles from the Fat Dragon games, which are 8x8, and they've been fine. No kidding. I should talk to him. We've emailed back and forth a couple of times, Fat Dragon Games and I should find out. Maybe if I'm just like doing something dumb that I didn't know about. It also could just be because my basement is really cold. That's also a possibility. Got a plastic hard sheet and chisel and score the texture on it. I mean, yeah, but I want to design it, you know what I mean, on the computer and then just make it. That was my hope. The reason that I'm so interested in computer design so frequently is because then I know everything's right, as opposed to like, oh, this was good until I screwed up this part with the chisel or whatever, and that kind of thing, and blah, blah, blah. And again, if you're doing something very organic or even something like, fantasy oriented, then it's a different story. But when you're doing like sci-fi and stuff, you want it to look sci-fi and like, unless it's like post-apocalyptic sci-fi, then it's a totally different story. ABS stands for acrylonitrile butadiene styrene. I'm going to say yes. Those doohickeys saved my ears so much pain. Oh, yeah. I still have one. It's in my bag that I take when I travel and stuff like that, just in case. I've got like there's a pouch in there that's got some masks, and it's still got that thing in there too. Part of the issue with flat printing is it's no matter how flat your bed is, the fact that the bed is heated means over time the bed will warp a bit. Also, PL can heat warp, so thin, flat, not good. Yeah, that's, I think, part of the issue. A1 Mini in a grow tent. Oh, there you go. As an example of how dangerous resin printing can be, the extraction fan exhaust from my resin printer was blowing into the leaves of my avocado tree and poisoned it. Well, that's not good. I mean, avocados are lovely, so you wouldn't want that. Can't you glue those tiles to some MDF after soaking them in hot water? I don't know. It'd be a lot of hot water. I don't know. It's a good question. They have a lot of newer PLA options with different properties that will get close to PETG or ABS. Interesting. It's not much filaments, but Dollarama is going to do what Dollarama does. Okay, I get you. All right. can also print new A1 spools on the A1, cost less than buying empty ones from Bamboo Lab. Oh, I already got them. I mean, like when I bought the printer, I bought four spools of filament. Jeez. I bought 4 spools of filament, and they came with the spool thingies. And then after that, when I wanted to buy more, I was like, oh, you can buy them without the spool thingy. Cool. And then I just have ever since have done that. So I have at least 4. Yeah, I think I have 4 of the 2-part plastic spools, and I just keep using those. But yeah, it would make sense. You could also print them if you wanted to. For glue sticks, it's not sticky at all after printing, not even a little. That seems weird. You'd think the glue stick would be sticky. Glue stick comes off with a quick wipe of a little warm water on a paper towel. Huh, well, maybe I'll have to give it a try. Super late to this. Happy time of day to you and yours. Absolutely. Okay, good to see you, David. ABS stands for a bad smell. Nice. Nice. So yeah, I am thankful that I am not printing tons of terrain for TMX, because generally what happens at TMX, if you're wondering, I'm going to get back to that for a sec. What happens is that people come that want to run and demo games. So generally they bring everything that's needed for that one table. You know, we don't really have any tournaments at TMX. There's been talk about a tournament. There's a tournament that generally happens in Illinois. It's a Age of Sigmar tournament. Holy Havoc? Holy Wars? Holy Havoc or Holy Wars? One of the two. Anyway, nice guy named Steve. And I've gone down to that event, not to play, but just to hang out and whatever, because Vince and Tommy were there. And so it was like somewhere in northern Illinois. Naples? I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, there was talk about like, well, maybe he wants to run one of those events at TMX. We would have to rent another part of the ballroom for them, just for them, and all that stuff. And but nothing's come of it yet so far. But otherwise, what happens is that people just run games that they want to teach people, you know, so you don't have to show up and bring miniatures. You don't even have to bring dice or anything. Everything's pretty much provided. You come sit down and someone teaches you how to play a game. Sometimes it's big multiplayer games. Sometimes it's something a little bit smaller. It depends. Sometimes people are bringing games that they want to demo themselves that they've designed. Maybe it's still in progress. It's more play testing. Maybe it's something that is an indie game that they're selling. For years, a guy, I think his name's Jordan. I don't know why I have this throat this morning. He was coming and demoing a game that he had made called Country Road Z, or County Road Z. Country Road Z, pretty sure. And it's a zombie game, miniatures game. And he would come and demo it and stuff like that at the convention. And then he basically he got it published through Modiphius, I think. I think it's through Modiphius. And so now he comes and still runs it, you know, but he's also starting a couple other games. He's got a game that's like it's more of a video game. Like, and it's not a video game, but it's a miniature game that takes place in a video game, if that makes any sense. It's like an 8-bit, like something or other. I don't know. He ran demos of that last year. I think he ran demos for 3 different games, one that's published and then 2 that he's working on. But any kind of game, I mean, Jay Dar, who was in here before, he likes to run not Battlefleet Gothic, the other one, the one that's currently by TT Combat, Drop Fleet Commander, and so he likes to run that. Let's see, what did we have last year? I've got it on a notepad document or whatever here. Let's see. Learn to Play Necromunda, Country Road Z, Trench Crusade, Learn to Play Trench Crusade, Dwarves and Drafts, demo and play test. That was by Soda. Let's see here. Learn to Play Grimdark Future, Age of Fantasy by One Page Rules. That's because One Page Rules was one of the vendors last year, and they were just running demos of One Page Rule stuff like the entire time. So that was pretty cool. Trench Crusade, Blackout, this Quar's War demo, Dwarves and Drafts again, Puke Apocalypse. That was the Noob Painter ran that. Drop Fleet Commander. 3-button arcade beat 'em up demo. That's the video game one I was talking about by Jordan Heckman. Let's see. Blackout, Dwarves and Drafts, Grimdark Future, Necromunda, Mech Attack Harbor Assault, which is part, I think, of what was going on in the title card. I think. But it was the same people, the same folks that were doing whatever game that was, but they also did the Mech Attack game. They bring in these big, these big honking mechs and stuff. And it's pretty cool. There are folks from the Chicago Skirmish Wargamers. They come from Chicago. So there's lots of different things that you can do there. But it's basically a place to go and learn how to play different games. And if you want to run some game, whether it's, and it can be anything. It doesn't have to be indie. Like we've had people, years ago, we had people come and teach people how to play Warhammer Underworld, the first one. Shadespire? Shadespire. I think it was Shadespire. So, yeah. Bought my first filament without a spool, so I printed a spool that was a tangled mess. Lesson learned the hard way. Sure, sure. Could be 5mm filament for the 3D pens for kids. Oh, that could be. Yeah. Good point. Let's see. I'm planning on using my cardboard spools from eSun PLA Plus as a Camino terrain for my clone troopers. Oh, nice. Yeah, I can see that. I hardly ever get to catch the Sunday show, but whenever I do, it always re-inspires my hobby mojo. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad I'm performing a hobby community service. I try. Country Road Z. Yep. Drop Fleet Commander. Oh, yeah. Please give an update if you figure out the reason for warping of your 8x8 tiles. I will. Uncle Adam is The Simpsons Up and Adam for an obscure reference no one will get. I remember that. My grandfather, when my mom told her father, my grandpa Woody, that she had had a boy, and then she said, and his name was Adam. My grandfather said, well, up and Adam. And then I think when my brother 4 years later was born, and she told my grandfather that the second boy was named Justin, then my grandfather said Justin time. He liked jokes and puns. What's the next set of plastic Trench Crusade models we will see next? I see what you're saying. I thought you were talking about 3D printing again. Sorry. From what I understand, the ones that are coming out next there's a small box that's got 2 of the sniper priests in it. We have only seen the silhouettes on the box. They haven't showed the artwork yet. Technically, I think they're keeping it from us to make us want it more. I don't know. So yeah, sniper priests, and then there's 2 other boxes that are the same size as the original Prussians box. One has just got yeoman in it, and one has just got the Stostruppen or Stostruppen or whatever they're called. And I think that's it right now that we know of. I don't know if there's anything else that's coming. I would be a little surprised if they didn't announce something at Adepticon, so probably something will get announced at Adepticon, but I don't know what. I'm hoping they start doing some bad guy stuff, because, like, I'll be honest, the way I thought it was going to go was like this. They released that Prussian Warband box, which is a great box and gives you enough stuff to build a pretty decent size force. You can build a normal 700-point force and blah, blah, blah. My thought was that the next box they were going to release was going to be another box just like that, only instead of having Prussians in it or whatever, it was going to be some other sub-faction, but for the Hell side. And that was not the case. Instead, they're like, well, here's some more Prussians, which I'm like, okay, cool. But I kind of figured they were going to flip over, but, So potentially they will do that next, maybe. I don't know. Or who knows who knows what's going to happen. But hopefully that is something that gets announced at Adepticon. That'd be really cool. So... how about printing 6x6 tiles? Yeah, I mean, I could, but then I need a lot more. I need 4x4. I need 16 tiles to make a 2x2. Yeah, I may still end up doing it. I may give it a try. Pet G is worth trying. It's more heat resistant. I should take a look at it. Yeah. Any conquest or full spectrum dominance? I've had a bunch of people tell me about full spectrum dominance. I don't know if I like the scale. Like it's considered, I think it's like 15 scale or whatever. I don't know. Like sometimes I'm just like, oh, I don't like anything other than 28, but then I forget about Battletech because that's like 6mm scale. I'm like, well, but I got to be honest, sometimes Battletech is like, the mechs are easy to paint, obviously, and they're generally already built, and that's great. It's just sometimes I'm like, ugh, the little buildings, though, are sort of a pain. But then, here's the thing that I love about Rocky Outcrops. This will work with a 28mm guy. It'll also work with a Battletech mech. Like, this just becomes a bigger Rocky Outcrop. That's the thing about Rocky Outcrops is they're awesome for multiple scales, generally. Whereas a building, if you have a 28mm building, it's going to look really weird on the board with a bunch of mechs around. You know what I mean? And if you have a 6mm building and you put it on the board, then a bunch of like 28mm guys are going to look real weird next to it. But with Rocky Outcrops, so yeah, that's interesting. I have a bunch of 3D printed buildings that I have but painting the small buildings. I like painting 3D printed terrain. I just don't like printing 6mm 3D printed terrain. I got to get better at it. Every time I look at the Underworld's Emberguard box on my shelf, Ermagerd, it's Ermagerd. Exactly. That was when my wife first saw it. That's exactly what she said. I'm cold and wolves are after me. Well, that's not good. Pet G contains tungsten. I believe it eats up your nozzle. Wow, the nozzle. I play Full Spectrum Dominance at 10mm scale, one of the best games ever. I watched a bit of a battle report, maybe, or something. I don't remember. I did watch a little something about it. I don't remember by who. Hobby Homies? Might have been a Hobby Homies. Hobby Homies are doing a whole, they're doing I don't know if they're doing a Kickstarter soon, but they're definitely doing some sort of, I just saw it because I follow them on, YouTube. They're out of Australia, I think, or maybe New Zealand, one of the two. And they're a smaller channel, but I don't know. They do. I stumbled across them because I was looking for people who were playing Grimdark Future Star Quest or whatever, and they were. And so I watched some of their stuff, and they're nice guys, or seem to be at least. And yeah, but I subscribed to their YouTube channel, and then just recently I saw a thing pop up that's like a teaser that coming up, I think sometime next week, maybe they're going to start selling, I guess, STLs. And I don't know if it's going to be I don't know if it's going to be a like Kickstarter or not, but it's going to be these kind of crazy, like sort of sci-fi pods that are very modular that look kind of cool. So I'm like, that's neat. I mean, and one of the guys is super into Shatterpoint, and Shatterpoint's like 40mm scale, so they might be like really big. But on the other hand, with terrain, you can always scale it. I have these buildings that I'm printing right now from some company, I forget who. Anyway, there's vaguely sci-fi cyberpunky buildings, and I was looking at them on the plate, and I'm just looking at it, and I'm like, I think these are bigger than I need them to be. So I just decided that I'm going to print them at like 90%, and I think it caused one small problem on a little overhang on like a building, but I think that thing was sort of problematic to begin with. Just shrinking it made it a little bit worse, but I'm like, oh, whatever, I'll cut it off. It'll be fine. I got that first box, even though I've got no real intention of diving into the game. The models still fit multiple indie rule sets, and they're great models. The initial Prussian Warband box is spectacular. It's so good. I got my guys done. I got the matte varnished. The only thing I still need to do to them probably is magnetize their bases. But otherwise, yeah, I want to take some pictures. I like your videos. I always listen on Fridays slots. Keep up the good work. I'm not from your side of the world. Cheers. Absolutely, Wolf. Wolf fan, how you doing? They did a video. Who did a video? Hobby Homies? I think, well, if it's what I'm talking about, yeah, they did a short little video about these new modular space pod thingies or whatever. While you can get tungsten-infused PET G, regular PET G does not contain tungsten. Well, that's good to know. He's heated and under pressure, coming to a neighborhood near you. The nozzle, laying down the law one layer at a time. Nice, nice. Full Spectrum Dominance has some of the best terrain for that scale I've ever seen. I use it for Battletech as well. I've heard people talk about how good the terrain is, and I remember seeing a picture and going, yeah, it's not bad. I should look more at that maybe. I don't know. I built and painted 2 forces in 10mm for tomorrow's war, but no one wants to try it because the models are too small. I don't generally like that scale. Like I said, Battletech seems to be the exception, but for the most part, yeah, I'm just not into, like, I almost pulled the trigger back in the day on Legions Imperialis because the rule set seemed pretty good for a GW rule set. I watched a couple of battle reports and I'm like, wow, it looks like they're actually trying to make things a little better. You know what I mean? And I'm like, that's kind of cool. They might have done some good work there. Maybe I should take a look at buying the starter. And then I was like, oh, the starter's all sold out, of course. Then I didn't buy Jack. So anyway, yeah, so I just, yeah, for some, I don't know why, but small scale stuff just doesn't do it for me. I'm also not super into army games either, which is why I generally prefer skirmish as well. So both of those things are problematic. I believe nozzles are really supposed to be consumables. You have to replace them regularly anyway. I've heard that too. I mean, I haven't replaced mine yet. I don't know if there's like an estimate of like how many hours or how much, I don't know if it would be feet, you know, like how many meters or kilos, or I don't know how they would measure it. But yeah, at some point, because like seriously, the nozzles cost like, I don't know, $14 or something like that. They're not particularly expensive. And on the A1, they are super easy to swap too. Easier than on many of the other Bamboo Lab printers. I believe, let's see here. Hobby Homies did the videos. Yes, I watched them. That's all I was saying. I gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, I just stumbled across them, like I said, because I was watching, I was looking for videos, like gameplay videos of the one-page rules, like Star Quest stuff. Gatecrasher, how you doing? You need to look at Full Spectrum Dominance terrain. It upscales amazingly well. It's really good too. I mean, if I could upscale it or downscale it or side scale it or whatever to make it work with Battletech, I might look into that, you know. I went in hard for Legions Imperialis. Got to get to that stuff. Yeah, see, that's, yeah. Easy enough to upgrade the hot end and filament feeder gear on the Bamboo Lab printers. Yeah, my first one, the gear got all gibbered and then it wouldn't work anymore. That's why I bought a second one. And now I'm going to just swap out the entire print head on the old one because a new print head costs $32. So I was like, well, nozzles wear out and will sometimes catastrophically plug. So best to keep an extra couple around. Yeah, I should probably, like the only other nozzle I own right now is a 0.2. So maybe I should order a couple of 0.4s just to have around. Not a bad idea. Carbon fiber. I don't know that I would ever want to print carbon fiber. I can't think of what I would use that for. Again, basically all I ever do with my 3D printer is make terrain. It's just terrain for days. A couple hours of great relaxing hobby. Well, I appreciate that. Let's see. So like I said, I got to start a new print down in the basement before we go to lunch. And then I need to, then we're going to go to lunch with my in-laws. We'll be there for a while and then come back home. And I guess it's the Superb Owl tonight, even though we don't really care who wins. I kind of want, I guess, the Seahawks to win if I have to be, if you put a gun to my head. But I have to edit the podcast because there's a new podcast tomorrow. Me and Vince have a podcast. If you haven't heard, it's called the Snarlcast. And you can find it wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find it on our YouTube channel, Snarling Badger Studios on YouTube. You can find links to it as well on the Snarling Badger website, although I think that they're maybe not necessarily as updated as they should be. But the YouTube channel or just the regular podcast stuff, they're updated. New one tomorrow, though. And so I have to edit that and also do the YouTube video and all that stuff and blah, blah, blah. So I'll be doing that most of the afternoon / into evening a bit. And then Vince and I got a normal meeting that we usually do on Sunday nights. So yeah. Loving the Bamboo A1, printing terrain and building for Warcrow. Nice. I got a copy of Space Station Zero. What kind of miniatures do you recommend for the game? Well, you could go to... Come on. You could go to the website and you could scroll down on the news page over here. You can see news up here. You scroll down on the news page until you get to here. Nope, wrong. Further down. Here we go. Space Station Zero. Where does he get those wonderful toys? This article here, come on, there you go, is just like a whole bunch of different places you could look for models. Games Workshop, Infinity, Stargrave, Reaper, Wargames Atlantic, Anvil Industry, Mantic Games, Blacksite Studios, Zombicide. And if you want to get 3D printed stuff, well, then the world is your oyster. There's all kinds of extra stuff. So whenever we put out a new game, we always put out a blog post saying, hey, here's some places you can go to get models, because people always ask. So love the Snarlcast. Always listen to it while cleaning my flat. Nice. Mostly lurk. Always enjoy. Thank you, Adam. Absolutely. Shovel time. Yeah, I'm going to do that after we get done back from lunch. All right. Well, we'll see you folks soon. Thanks for everybody coming by and hanging out. I appreciate it. Let's see. Like I said, new Snarlcast tomorrow morning, around 8 a.m. Central Time is, I think, when it launches. So it'll be on your podcast platform of choice and also on YouTube if you want to catch it there. You do not see our smiling faces on the YouTube. It's just, but still. What else? Anything else? I don't know. I think that's pretty much about it. If you get the chance, do some hobby and maybe paint some models or put some models together while you're watching football or something, if that's the thing you do. But if you don't get a chance, that's okay. Don't beat yourself up about it. I got to come up with a different way to say that. And we'll see you again here in 2 weeks. I'll be on Twitch Monday night, like I normally am, from 7 p.m. on Twitch. So you can find me over there as well. That's pretty much about it. Have yourselves a good day. Stay safe. Thanks for watching.